Late one winter evening, the people of a quiet town noticed something strange on the empty field just outside the city. Where there had been nothing the previous night, a large circus suddenly stood under the pale moonlight. Tall striped tents swayed gently in the cold wind, and dim golden lights flickered as if the place had been there for years. No trucks, workers, or signs of construction were ever seen. It was as though the circus had appeared out of nowhere. By morning, colorful posters covered the streets, announcing "One night only, the Smiling Circus." No one knew who placed them there. The posters showed a clown with an unusually wide smile and dark, hollow eyes that seemed to follow anyone who looked too long. Some townspeople felt uneasy, but curiosity quickly replaced fear, especially among children. As evening arrived, music echoed faintly from the circus grounds, slow, distorted carnival tunes carried by the wind. Families began attending the show, claiming the performances felt strangely real, almost hypnotic. However, several visitors mentioned something unsettling. The clown never spoke, never blinked, and always seemed to be watching the audience instead of performing. That same night, a child walking home after the show disappeared without a trace. The police searched everywhere, but found no evidence. The circus staff claimed they knew nothing, insisting the boy had already left the grounds. Despite the growing tension, the circus lights continued glowing every night, brighter than before. From distant houses, residents reported hearing faint laughter long after midnight. Laughter that did not sound joyful, but hungry. Unnoticed by most, the smiling clown stood at the entrance after closing hours, perfectly still, staring toward the town as if waiting for someone or something to return. The second night of the circus drew even larger crowds. Word had spread quickly about the strange performances and the unsettling feeling visitors experienced inside the tents. Some people claimed the show felt different for everyone, as if the circus somehow knew their fears. At the center of every performance stood the silent clown, tall, thin, and dressed in faded colors that looked older than the circus itself. Unlike other performers, the clown never introduced himself. He simply appeared when the lights dimmed. A single spotlight followed him as he moved slowly across the stage, his wide, painted smile never changing. Children laughed at first, but their laughter often faded into nervous silence. The clown's eyes seemed too real, too aware, as if he were studying each person carefully. During one performance, the clown invited a young boy onto the stage without saying a word. He handed the child a red balloon and pointed toward a mirror placed at the center of the ring. The audience watched as the boy looked into the mirror and suddenly froze. Witnesses later said the child looked terrified, staring at something no one else could see. Moments later, the lights went out briefly. When they returned, the boy was back in his seat, confused and pale, unable to explain what frightened him. After the show, several parents reported their children having nightmares about the clown standing in their rooms at night. Some kids claimed they could still hear carnival music even when far from the circus grounds. Meanwhile, workers in nearby shops noticed something disturbing. The clown was sometimes seen outside the circus after midnight, standing completely still near empty streets. No footsteps, no sound, just that same frozen smile. Rumors began spreading throughout the town that the clown wasn't acting at all. Whatever he was always watching. Within a few days of the circus opening, the peaceful town slowly changed. What began as excitement turned into quiet fear as children started disappearing under strange circumstances. The first case was dismissed as a runaway incident, but when a second and third child vanished, the town realized something was terribly wrong. Each missing child had one thing in common. They had all visited the circus shortly before disappearing. Parents grew anxious and began keeping their children indoors after sunset. Schools ended early, and playgrounds that were once full of laughter became silent. Police officers increased patrols around the town, especially near the circus grounds, yet nothing suspicious was ever found. The circus continued operating normally every evening, its bright lights glowing against the dark sky as if untouched by the growing panic. Witnesses reported seeing children staring toward the circus from their windows late at night, as though drawn by something invisible. Some parents claimed their kids spoke about a funny clown who promised them a special show meant only for them. When questioned further, the children could not remember how or when they heard the invitation. One evening, Security cameras near the town square captured a chilling moment. A missing child was seen walking alone toward the empty road leading to the circus after midnight. Behind him, just at the edge of the frame, stood a tall shadow shaped like a clown. The footage suddenly distorted with static before cutting off completely. Despite these events, the circus manager denied any connection to the disappearances. He insisted the performers never left the grounds after closing hours. However, several townspeople claimed they saw the silent clown wandering near houses late at night, watching windows without moving. Fear spread rapidly. The once magical circus now felt like a trap, and the town began to wonder whether the performances were hiding something far darker than entertainment. Among the worried families in town was a young boy named Ian and his little brother Sammy. Sammy had been fascinated by the circus since the day it appeared. He constantly talked about the smiling clown, insisting that the clown was friendly and wanted him to come back for a special performance. Ian felt uneasy whenever Sammy mentioned it, especially after hearing about the missing children. One evening, their parents allowed them to attend the circus together, hoping it would calm Sammy's excitement. The show felt stranger than before. The lights flickered more often, and the music sounded slower and distorted. When the silent clown appeared on stage, Sammy's face lit up with excitement, while Ian felt an unexplained fear. At one moment, the clown turned directly towards Sammy and slowly waved at him, even though hundreds of people filled the audience. That night, Sammy could not stop talking about how the clown had chosen him. He claimed the clown promised to show him something amazing soon. Ian dismissed it as imagination, but deep down, he felt something was wrong. Near midnight, Ian woke up after hearing faint carnival music drifting through the window. The room felt unusually cold. When he looked toward Sammy's bed, it was empty. The window was slightly open, curtains moving gently in the wind. On the floor lay a single red balloon tied with a thin string. Panic spread through the house as their parents searched everywhere. The police were called immediately, but no signs of forced entry were found. Outside the house, muddy footprints led a short distance down the road before suddenly disappearing. As Ian stood frozen in fear, he noticed something across the street under a flickering streetlight, a tall figure shaped like a clown standing perfectly still. The light blinked once, and the figure vanished. At that moment, Ian realized the circus had taken his brother, and he knew no one else would believe the truth except him. Days passed after Sammy's disappearance, but no answers came. The police searches failed, and the circus continued its performances as if nothing had happened. Ian could not accept that his brother was simply gone. The image of the red balloon and the shadowy clown haunted his thoughts every night. Convinced that the circus was hiding the truth, he decided to investigate on his own. Late one night, after his parents had fallen asleep, Ian quietly left the house and made his way toward the empty field outside town. Thick fog covered the ground, and the distant outline of the circus tents appeared darker than usual. Unlike show nights, there were no crowds, no music, and no bright lights. Only faint glowing lamps swaying in the wind. As he stepped closer, the air felt colder. The entrance gate stood slightly open, moving slowly with a creaking sound. A faded welcome sign hung above it, though the painted letters looked worn and almost melted, as if aged for decades. Gathering his courage, Ian slipped inside. The circus grounds were completely silent. Empty ticket booths stood abandoned, and scattered popcorn boxes rolled across the ground without any wind. Yet something felt alive. From somewhere deep within the tents came a faint echo of laughter, low and distant. Ian walked carefully past the rides. The carousel suddenly began turning on its own, its music playing softly despite having no power. Wooden horses moved up and down as though invisible riders sat upon them. Shadows stretched unnaturally along the canvas walls, shifting even when Ian stood still. He realized he was no longer sure where the exit was. The paths between tents seemed different from before, twisting into unfamiliar directions. Then, ahead of him, a single spotlight turned on by itself, illuminating a large tent entrance. From inside came the slow sound of clapping, as if someone was waiting for the show to begin, and Ian was the only guest. Drawn by the sound of slow clapping, Ian stepped into the large tent. The air inside felt heavy and cold, carrying the faint smell of dust and old paint. A narrow hallway stretched ahead, lit by weak yellow bulbs swinging from the ceiling. At the end of the corridor stood a sign that read, Hall of Smiles. The letters looked scratched, as if someone had tried to remove them many times. As Ian pushed the curtain aside, he entered a massive room filled with mirrors from floor to ceiling. Some were tall and clear, while others were cracked, curved, or stained with age. His reflection appeared dozens of times around him, each image slightly delayed, moving a fraction slower than his real body. The silence inside the room felt unnatural. Suddenly, he noticed something wrong. In one mirror behind him, a tall clown figure stood silently, even though the space behind him was empty. Ian turned quickly. Nothing was there. When he looked back at the mirror, the clown was closer. His breathing grew heavier as more reflections began changing. In another mirror, the clown tilted its head. In the next, it waved slowly. Some reflections showed the clown standing beside him. Others showed it directly behind him with its stretched smile wider than before. The lights flickered violently, and faint carnival music echoed through the room. Ian tried to leave, but every direction led to more mirrors. The exits had disappeared. Panic rose as fingerprints slowly appeared on the glass surfaces, as if something invisible was touching them from the other side. Then all reflections froze at once. In every mirror, the clown now stood directly behind Ian, staring down at him. A cold breath brushed against his neck, though no one was visible. A soft chuckle echoed through the room, the first sound the clown had ever made. Ian realized the mirrors were not reflections. They were doors, and something had just stepped through. Frozen in fear, Ian slowly turned around, expecting to see the clown standing behind him. For a moment, nothing was there. The mirror room fell completely silent, and even the carnival music stopped. Then a deep whisper echoed from every direction at once, as if the walls themselves were speaking. The voice was distorted, layered with faint laughter, and impossible to locate. Images suddenly began appearing across the mirrors. Instead of reflections, Ian saw memories. Children entering the circus, smiling and laughing, each one following the clown willingly. The scenes changed rapidly, showing the children walking deeper into hidden tunnels beneath the tents. Their smiles slowly faded into fear as the darkness swallowed them. Ian watched in horror as he recognized Sammy among them. His brother stood holding a red balloon, staring forward with empty eyes, as if trapped in a dream. The clown stood beside him, taller and less human than before. Its painted face cracked slightly, revealing something dark moving underneath, like shifting shadows struggling to stay hidden. The whispering voice explained without words that the clown was not a performer, but an ancient entity that appeared wherever fear was strongest. The circus was only a disguise, a moving trap created to lure children through curiosity and joy before feeding on their terror. Each laugh, each scream, made it stronger, allowing it to exist longer in the human world. The mirrors showed countless towns from different times, proving the circus had appeared again and again throughout history, always leaving behind disappearances and unanswered mysteries before vanishing overnight. Ian realized the children were not simply gone. They were trapped somewhere inside the circus itself, their fear keeping the creature alive. The clown turned its head toward him through the mirror, locking eyes with him directly. For the first time, Ian understood the truth. The circus had not chosen his brother by accident. Now, it had chosen him too. The moment Ian realized the clown's true nature, the mirrors around him shattered all at once. Shards of glass flew in every direction, but none cut him. Instead, they transformed the room. The walls seemed to stretch and twist like liquid, creating a labyrinth of corridors that shifted with each step. The soft carnival music returned, now distorted and louder, echoing through every twisted hallway. A shadow appeared in the distance, the tall, silent clown. Its wide smile glowed unnaturally in the dim light, and its hollow eyes followed Ian with a terrifying focus. Every turn Ian took, the clown mirrored his movement, appearing closer even when he ran faster. The corridors seemed to bend in impossible ways, making escape feel hopeless. The red balloon Sammy had been holding earlier floated ahead, taunting Ian as a guide deeper into the maze. Ian's heart raced as he ran past broken rides, empty tents, and flickering lanterns that revealed fleeting glimpses of trapped children in cages of mist. Each face stared silently, their expressions frozen in terror. Their eyes begged him to turn back, but he pressed forward, unwilling to leave without Sammy. The ground beneath him shifted unpredictably, occasionally tilting or cracking, making every step dangerous. Shadows stretched unnaturally, forming figures of children running, disappearing, and then reappearing. Whispers surrounded him, repeating his name and calling him toward the clown. The labyrinth seemed alive, feeding off his fear. Suddenly, Ian stumbled into a large circular arena inside the circus. The clown stood at the center, motionless but impossibly larger, as if its body were made of shadows. The air grew colder, and every echo of the carnival music warped into a sinister, mocking laugh. Ian knew there was no turning back. The chase had begun, and the clown would not stop until it had captured him. The only way out was to confront it, or be consumed like the others. Ian stood in the center of the circular arena, heart pounding, surrounded by swirling fog and shadows that seemed to move on their own. The clown remained motionless at the center, its unnaturally wide smile stretching even further as it regarded him. The trapped children appeared in the mist, their faces pale and eyes hollow, silently watching, frozen in fear. Their presence only made the air heavier, the darkness thicker. Gathering his courage, Ian remembered the stories he had read about confronting fear directly. He knew that the clown drew power from terror, from the panic of the children it trapped. To defeat it, he had to remain calm, unafraid, and force the creature into the open. He took a deep breath and stepped forward, his eyes locked on the clown, refusing to look away despite the growing cold. The clown's movements became jerky, unnatural, almost as if it were struggling. It lunged, shadows stretching like tendrils across the arena, trying to reach him. Ian dodged and held his ground, chanting words he barely understood, words that symbolized bravery and defiance. Each step forward weakened the clown, and the mist around the trapped children began to dissipate. Their eyes regained a glimmer of hope. Suddenly, the clown let out a terrifying screech, and the arena shook violently. Light began to pierce the fog, coming from every direction at once. The clown shrank back, its form twisting and cracking as it lost strength. Ian's fearlessness acted like a weapon, and the shadows that once moved independently started retracting into the creature. With a final scream that echoed through the circus, the clown vanished, leaving only the scattered mirrors and faint carnival lights behind. The children were freed, including Sammy, who ran into Ian's arms, sobbing and trembling. Though the circus remained eerie and empty, its evil had been temporarily contained, at least for now. The town, however, would never forget the terror of the smiling clown. By morning, the circus had vanished as mysteriously as it had appeared. The tents, rides, and glowing lights were gone, leaving only the empty field under the pale sun. Townspeople who had witnessed the events were left shaken, whispering rumors about what had really happened. Children who had been freed returned home, exhausted and pale, unable to explain the horrors they had experienced inside. Sammy clung to Ian, silently promising never to speak of the clown again, yet the fear in his eyes lingered. Despite the relief of finding the missing children, the town felt different. Streets that were once cheerful seemed colder, shadows longer and darker. Even in broad daylight, people reported faint echoes of carnival music carried by the wind. Windows occasionally reflected something unusual, a flicker of a wide, painted smile, or two hollow eyes staring back. Weeks later, a new poster appeared on the town square, pinned carefully to a lamppost as if placed by invisible hands. It depicted the smiling clown, grinning widely with its black hollow eyes, surrounded by the same circus tents that had vanished. Below, written in bold, faded letters, was a simple message: "See you again soon." No one saw who posted it. The authorities dismissed it as a prank, but parents felt an unease they could not shake. At night, some children claimed they could hear faint giggles in the wind, soft footsteps near their windows, and the occasional reflection of a tall shadow with a stretched smile in mirrors and glass doors. Ian watched over Sammy, knowing that even though they survived, the clown's presence had not truly left. It had only been delayed. The circus might be gone, but the entity that fed on fear remained, waiting patiently. Somewhere, it was preparing to return, and when it did, it would be hungrier than ever.